Well, water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions. 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We've introduced our special 19-liter jar for offices and homes. Now, you just need to stay awake with Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. Come on and grab a bottle of Awake water and get quality hydration. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casa Preco. For bulk purchase, please call 026-235-1251. This advert is FDA approved. Well, we've got more for you right here on the show. It's a Wednesday as usual. Kind courtesy EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, will bring you AM Business. And then we have that big conversation on plastic waste in the country. You may have seen that documentary produced by Samuel Kojo Brace. We'll digest the issues and try and prefer solutions on how we can deal with that as a nation. We'll do that right after these.
Ambassador Cabral Blay Amir, Dr. SKB Asante, Professor Joshua Alavi, Daniel Macaulay, Dr. Akuritenga Ayeni, Enes Kofi Abuchi, Kolaga Berry. Good to see you.
Thank you.
What do you make of the current legal system?
Your ability to fight and secure justice is significantly a factor of your legal representation.
When did you develop the love for politics?
It was a dream I had from, I think, 1969-70.
What's your experience?
I was a driver's mate one time in my life.
It is worse when you are a young woman.
I'm coming.
PM Personality Profile with Aisha Ibrahim.
Bold, credible, and fearless journalism. That is what we stand for. Duty bearers and citizens know that they'll be asked the hard questions to bring out the truth. That is what we expect of us. It is this commitment to tell truth to power that sets us apart, because we will hold the feet of leadership to the heat of accountability. My name is Evans Mensah, and this is Joy News. Fearless, independent, and credible.
the plastic is very simple to take it everywhere. You can use it to travel safe. But the glass, you cannot use the glass to travel.
James, a trader at Adabraka, telling me his preference between plastic and glass bottles. He tells me plastic bottles are safe for him than glass bottles.
The plastic is good. You see, the plastic, two people cannot use the plastic. Only one person can use the plastic and throw it away. But the glass, you use it, they take it back and go and fill it again. So it will give an infection to people, you understand? But the plastic, you can even throw it away.
David, an entrepreneur, shares this reasoning of the plastic bottle being healthier than the glass bottle.
I like plastic because of the health issue attached to the plastic. The advice given to us on the radio, so it has gone into our mind that preferably plastic is better. If you handle plastic bottle, it can just fall down and then everything's scattered. But for plastic, you can take it back.
But it is not everybody that shares this reasoning. Sam is a regular patron at the popular restaurant in the capital city, Accra. He says, with his knowledge of the negative health implications of plastic bottles, he prefers glass bottles.
When it comes to the way we dispose of plastic waste, we don't separate it from the other waste materials. So recycling it becomes a problem, and you go through a lot of cycles to separate them, and cost-wise it's high. So comparing the two, I think bottle will do.
Surprisingly, I came across more people who are alert to the health impact of plastic bottles and are therefore choosing glass bottles.
The main reason why I prefer the glass bottles is that whenever you buy, let's take it for instance, with soda, Coke, and mineral and other stuffs, where they are ready to take the breakable bottles from you. But when it comes to the plastic, when you buy Coke plastic, you take it along, and if there is no substitute for keeping it safe, you realize that they will put it in the gutter, they will put it on the floor, and it becomes dead. You understand? So when it comes to the bottle aspect and the plastic aspect, I think I will support I like the bottle aspect.
So if today there is a ban that let's not produce any plastic bottled product, you would flow with it?
I'll flow with it because probably I believe some years to come, we are going to realize it's going to help us in terms of keeping the city clean. It's going to help the nation very well.
For me, I prefer the glass bottles. You know, with the plastic bottles, it has become a big challenge, and you see that a lot of plastics on the streets. You see a lot of plastics on the street, but it is very difficult to see glass on the streets. Yeah, so I will go for the glass bottle.
So how is this impacting the decision of restaurant operators? Isaac Lai is a supervisor at Champion Dishes at Adabraka. He says people consider the easy handling of the bottles they choose.
Maybe the person wants to take it out or something, or want to take it home. The person cannot, most of the glass bottles, you cannot take it out. But with the plastic ones, you can take it out. Yeah, but most of the people who come to Champion Dishes, so they prefer the plastic bottle because most of them, what they say is that the plastic bottle is easily to handle. And with that one, you can take it out. But for the glass bottles, when you need to drink it and then leave the bottle here.
To him, some people also do consider the health impact of the two before choosing.
You know, the plastic one, when it's easy, after taking the drink, you dispose the bottle. You need to put it in the bin or something. But with the glass one, what most of them have in mind is that with the glass one, after taking in the drink, it will be sent to the company. The bottles will be sent to the company, and then maybe they need to go through a process of cleaning. Yeah, they need to clean it and stuff before they can refill and then cover it again. But with the plastic one, now after they've taken the drink, they will dispose it. They have to put it in the bin, and then after everything, they have to put it in the bin. Then when they put it in the bin, with that one, it will be disposed into. They will throw it away or something, or it will be taken to a recycle place for them to. Yeah.
So that was a snippet of that documentary produced by Samuel Kojo Brace, and you can watch the full thing. We've uploaded it on YouTube. It's a terrible situation. I'm not sure words can describe how enormous this problem is. I have lived in Accra and I'm using Accra as an example because most of my adult life has been lived here. When I came into Accra for school, around where I used to live, it was very difficult to see plastic on the streets. Okay. But fast forward 5 or 6 years later, when I was moving away from the area, it was an eyesore. So just using that area as maybe a study, I realized that we had just lost guard some way, somehow. We've just lost it. We've lost the plot. I mean, look, I don't know if you really observe our streets. And it's plastic waste. That's the problem, you see.
It is what led us to produce this documentary.
And I don't know whether our leaders do not see how big a problem this is, because you see, I think that, and I pray that we win our fight against illegal mining. Our next fight should be this.
Plastics.
Our next fight should be
serious.
this. Because the plastics are killing us. And I don't know if you're one of those people who follows the stories about flooding and about how choked drains lead to all these things. Plastics are already killing us, but there's a long-term problem, okay, which is that these plastics enter our water bodies, break down, enter the fish that we eat, and ends up in our own bodies.
Yeah, that's what's happening. So we're throwing garbage away and then consuming garbage into our system unknowingly. People eat and throw, or they drink and throw the rubbish, the plastic. You know, plastic takes a longer time to decompose. If anybody wants to know how difficult it is for plastics to decompose, go to a dumping area, a very old one, and dig.
Do they even decompose, even if they do? I think that you may need some chemicals and other things to help it decompose. But what you're talking about is true. There's a place around the McCarthy Hill called Bola. When you go, when you go up the hill and go down, it almost looks like a slum area. And I saw someone digging a foundation, and the plastic waste that was coming out. And the person was still building, and I was asking myself, well, I'm sure he had purchased the land already and couldn't do anything, but that's an old dump site.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to know how difficult it is for plastic to decompose, they should look at that. So if you throw that plastic onto the street, what you're trying to do is that you want that thing to be there for ages without decomposing. And even if look, people should go to the seashore. Especially where I went to, the Kole. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is the amount of rubbish here. And the guy says, oh, I mean, clean this up 5 hours. You will see the same amount. And so, according to the World Economic Forum, by 2050, there will be more plastics in the ocean than fish. And that should scare all of us. That where we get our primary source of fish, would have more plastics in there than the fish that we want to catch. It means that by 2050, it will be difficult for us to get fish to eat.
Yeah.
And even the ones that we are getting now, we're being told by research that, look, there are something they call microplastics in there that we are consuming unknowingly. So we are walking, but we are walking dead people.
Well, there's more to digest on this. We've been joined by Desmond Alugnoa. He's a plastic waste recycling advocate, and also Professor Paul Osei Sampini. He's an environmental health hazard analyst at KNUST. Let me welcome you, gentlemen. And this is a conversation that we should have, and the documentary has highlighted that. Let me start with you, Prof. Do you think our leaders see how enormous this problem is? Hello, Prof?
Hello? Hello?
Hello, Prof. Please, did you get my question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, thanks.
Please,
once again, good morning to your panelists and everybody in the studio. Yes, I can say that our leaders probably see the enormity of the problem, but things have gotten to such a degree or grade that finding solutions to it is probably more or less, eluding them, and they feel that that's fine. Now we cannot do much, and people are not ready to change, so let it be. But however, I believe strongly that they see what it is. That if you talk of leadership, of course, all of us are leaders, I think, including myself and you, isn't it? You are all leaders. You see the enormity of the problem, but the question is that what do we do? We only talk about it, and we want those who are in leadership positions, like those who can easily implement laws or enact acts or laws that will probably change the narrative. That is why I feel that they lack the political will to do so.
This government had a great ambition to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. We've seen the Greater Accra Regional Minister start a couple of campaigns, Operation Clean Your Frontage. Do you think that we are really getting to the root of this problem, or we're just beating about the bush?
Oh, I wouldn't use the word beating about the bush, but what I would like to say is that, there is this lack of political will. For instance, if somebody wants to produce these plastics in industrial scale, what it is that the person produces with the idea that I'm creating jobs. But as to how to deal with the toxics or the toxins are the things that I believe that they are not ready to do. And those probably who don't even produce them here probably import them into the system. They are also, more or less will tell you that they are creating jobs and then eventually create a mess. And so my problem really is that they see the problem, but unfortunately the political will is not there.
Interesting. There's also the other bit on how other countries are tackling the plastic menace. There are those who place a certain levy when you buy a plastic product, and they use that money to deal with the waste created. So cleaning up is very expensive. Look at what we are showing on our screens right now. This will take a lot of investment, a lot of hard work to get our streets and our gutters rid of all these filth, and it comes with a cost. Let me come to you, Desmond. You are a plastic waste recycling advocate, and we've tried. There actually is a plastic waste recycling facility just around the Korle, but we are still struggling. I'm not sure we've tackled this even 50%. How do we do it? What other policies can we initiate to ensure that this just doesn't become talking every day, but we see real solutions on the ground? Hello, Desmond?
All those. Can you hear me, Ben?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And that question, I think all hope is not lost, and I will come into what I am privileged to know as far as Ghana is concerned, because I had the opportunity to be part of the policy task force set by MESTI since last year, and some initiatives have been happening. But I would like to start this with some of the countries that have done appreciably well in the past, because 2019 until 2020, I was studying the German system, and I had the opportunity to visit 3 different states in Germany, particularly looking at the value chain of plastics and how they are handling this. And I think, and I'll come to one other one, which is the Danish system and also the Philippines system. All 3 I've visited and studied. But I think one significant thing is that all these systems are driven by the market mechanism. That is what you sort of alluded to when you talk about the deposit return system, where people go back and give back their plastics that they took home, and then they get a good amount of money back, which is a motivation for the consumer, but also a motivation for the government. But the difference here, for example, for the German system is such that for them, your tax that you pay at the end of the year depends on how much you have bought back the past year. So every state has its own laws, and they are not exactly the same, but the underlying principle is the same, cutting across, because they link this to climate solutions. And so at the end of the year, each of the companies that roll out a number of plastics in the system will have to prove that they've bought back this amount. So it's a competition, and you can buy somebody else's plastics as far as you are able to recycle it. So it's more like a competition that it gives every company the motivation to get back more plastics, because you will pay less at the end of the year. That's one. In the Philippines, 2018, I was in the Philippines, particularly following the Zero Waste story, because I was in the Zero Waste Academy. And for them, they focused on job creation and local manufacturing. What the idea was that they wanted to promote producing, say, dustbins in the in-country. They wanted to promote producing packaging materials that are sustainable in-country, but they wanted to produce these things from waste, especially waste that they felt were really problematic. And for them, they were working from barangay to barangay, which is like district system that we are having here, focusing on the gender intersection with waste, because they rolled out a number of women and youth who were collecting these waste, and then they were sorting them out and giving them to the companies or the local people who are improvising to create some of these materials. Now, these 2 systems, they work quite well. For the Philippines, it was like 60%, and then in Germany, it was like 80%. The other gaps that still existed is that, for example, in Germany, they produce huge amounts of other forms of waste that they call them the subsidiary, or they call them the waste that they cannot recycle. And those ones go into the incinerator, the other ones that they burn, the kind of waste that they apply heat and chemicals to burn. So fast forward, we came back to Ghana and we tried to pilot a similar approach that combined these 2 in New ABBS called the Sustainable Community Project. Now, the whole idea was to have a number of demonstrable projects across the country, that then we can have government use this as a pointer to expand. And currently, the very first one that we started is currently collecting about 50,000 metric tons of plastics. And the thing is, we are not directly recycling these plastics on the ground, but then we've been able to build enough data for recyclers to take up this. Because for this model, the 3 principles is brokering solutions, building data, and also knowledge. Because for me, I think that that's the problem that we are having in Ghana. And now we've scaled this project to 3 other municipalities. Adansi South, which is the beginning, Ebuakwa now,
Well, Desmond, but the problem with that, with the interaction we've been having, people think that even when it comes to buying back this waste, the monies that you do give the collectors is just not motivating enough, and that's why people are not collecting enough. Isn't it something you've also seen with the whole system of trying to buy back their plastic waste?
That's part of the problem that, for example, we are trying to solve with the work of the NPAP and the role that I'm playing in defining problematic plastics. So the reason is that we have companies who are on the loose. They are not really having a producer responsibility system. So they are not feeling the responsibility to buy back. And so it's at their mercy for them to buy at any price that they want. But what we are trying to now put into the system is that, one, we want to make sure that everybody have the knowledge about what kind of plastics are problematic and what kind of plastics are not. And this is the task that the Green Africa Youth Organization has been given to do by the Policy Task Force. And then the other thing is also that to give them power. So this year, what we did was that we organized a program in Kenya where we brought all the African waste collectors there and the waste pickers. The reason was that we wanted to share all these modules and explain to people what is valuable where and why you should be able to demand, or what are the barriers that you have. I'll give you an example. Here we have a challenge of, even today, as we have thought we are moving far, we still have a lot of virgin plastics produced in this country and heavily subsidized. Now, when such a company who is always eluding and not taking responsibility of what they already put in the system is able to still produce an enormous amount without paying the appropriate fine or the appropriate money to get it back, you can imagine how that person is going to behave when you bring the matter of we have collected this amount of your plastics, you have to buy it. So the idea now is to make sure that the different working groups that are doing their work are able to synchronize at the top and ensure that producer responsibility is prioritized, but also the local innovation, the projects that are already there that are scalable can also be made attractive, because that's the main problem that we are trying to solve, that how can sustainable solutions be as financially attractive as everybody is expecting them.
Right, Desmond. So at the heart of this is policy, because all the things that you're saying point to that direction. So, for example, if a company produces a local beverage or whatever it is that it needs plastic for, and it's encouraged through incentives and others to recycle waste and use recycled plastics instead, that is better. Or if you're going to use virgin plastic, then you pay more, so that government can use that money to also cater for it. Because, mind you, we also have a waste collection problem. People who are even signed up onto these big companies who come to collect rubbish encounter some of these problems. You're supposed to pick them up every Tuesday and Thursday. They don't. And so we end up giving it to these
now they are buboya.
Yes, the tricycle riders who come, pick them up, and sometimes we don't even know where they're dumping them. So there's a systemic problem. Prof, how do we deal with this systemic problem? The private sector has tried to intervene, but there still is a yawning gap that needs to be filled. Hello, Prof?
Yeah, that's fine. In fact, I followed through the conversations all through, and then there's something that the last speaker just said that actually touches me so much. If you look at how we do our things, I'll come to your question anyway. If you look at how we do our things, I don't know. I was just reading a news article where Mr. Lanchamatin now classified Ghana as a NATO country. No action.
Talk only.
And maybe he's right, because he's in the system and he knows that he talks and he doesn't act. He himself will talk and he will not act. And so basically that is what we are going through. Otherwise, we would have gone past the stage where we'll be talking about plastic, when in other countries plastic even though, like I already said yesterday, that plastic, I'm not saying we don't condemn them completely, but the way we handle our plastic, that is where we have problems. And before I come back to answer your question, there are so many types of plastics, and most of these plastics contain what we call some additives called phthalates. And these phthalates are very, very poisonous. They are very, very toxic to the body and very toxic to the environment, especially the soil and then the water bodies. They are very, very toxic in those things. So we should be very careful as to how we handle our plastics. But back to your question. You see, the political will is something that is lacking. And I keep saying that political will. And it's very, very important that we sort of deal with it first and foremost. And secondly, probably if you don't have the resources, or we have the resources, but we don't want to put proper resources, including financial resources and all those things. I'm talking about manpower resource and all those things to it, so that we deal with it and probably get the solution to some of these questions that we are today discussing.
Well, Prof, in the Ghanaian Times of today, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, MESTI, is to execute a $7 million funded project to strengthen the country's capacity to transition to a circular economy framework that addresses the management of plastics. Now, we all know what a circular economy is, a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. We've had this whole issue of trying to deal with the plastic, conundrum. We have not been successful. If the ministry is to implement this $7 million, you as someone who really understands the industry, what must the ministry be doing to effectively deal with this issue of plastics?
Hello?
Hello, Prof.
I couldn't hear you very well, so if you can come up again.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay, so I'm saying that in the Ghanaian Times, the Ministry of Environment and Innovation is to implement a $7 million circular economy project. With our difficulty in handling plastics, what would be your recommendation to the ministry as to how they can, through this project, effectively deal with the issue of plastics that we've struggled with over the years?
Well, that's fine. In fact, the government cannot do it all by himself alone, so probably he needs to partner the businessmen, which includes probably those who produce plastic in the country, and they probably support them financially so that they will be able to buy all these plastic waste. Seeing it just come on the black rubber that we are used to. When we go to shopping, we buy food, wherever we go, what we have to do, they give them whatever it is that they can, be supported financially. And then the people who will be sitting at vantage points buying these rubbish. And you will see how people will be digging all the way into the soil, bringing out the rubbish and then plastic that is either to dispose of. And that is what I believe that the government can do in its own small way in helping. Two, the government can also encourage this what in Germany, what we do in Germany basically is to you have containers set aside where they will tell that this container should have plastic, this container should have let's say bottles, garbage, this. In fact, everything is separated because the garbage may be used for recycling and even be turned to fertilizer. The cup, the rubber, or the plastic could be used for recycling and be reproducing all those things. Glass for another purpose and all those things. And so, probably we put people around. If you bring and you brought about 20 of them, you just account how many of them. Every plastic has a price. Like I said, there are so many plastics that I don't want to mention the various types of plastics or rubbish that are around. So when they are done, depending on the quality and then the the number, the quality and the quantity, the government pays you, or whoever is interested pays and goes to sell them back to the producers. And you realize that we reduce, drastically the plastic waste and that find their way into the ocean, our seas and things like that. You'll be surprised that I think yesterday when we finished our conversation, I was just driving through just around, there's a river there, where some small river where some boys have caught them. They go there fishing. And they caught a catfish. And then, interestingly, I decided that, let me just buy this catfish because the boys were just small boys. I bought a catfish, went and gave it to my watchman. And he opened, there were massive, in fact, a lot of plastic waste, black rubber in the intestines of the fish. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes it's very interesting. See, I believe that we as a nation, we can do something about whatever the problem is so that we'll not be a country of NATO, as Alan Martin, as rightly put it.
Prof,
and I believe that...
sorry to interject. I'm just trying to, for you to help us understand, especially when it comes to our health, what some of the implications are. What is likely to happen to us as a people if we don't deal with this health-wise?
Well, health-wise, it has a lot of implications. Yesterday, I think I made it clear that most of these plastic, but pure plastic, I'm just choosing my words carefully. We have pure plastic, and these pure plastics are non-toxic. The pure plastic are not, what do you call it? They are not toxic, and they are what? Also insoluble in water. That means they cannot be dissolved in water. So those pure plastic, when you use, probably you have very little or basically, nothing as far as your health is concerned. But the additives, I'm talking about pure plastic, they always prepare the plastic in the form of adding additives. And I told you that one of the additives, that we call phthalates. And these phthalates are very, very toxic when they leach into water and then the environment. So it means that if it gets into your body over a long period of time, we're talking about bioaccumulatively, it gets into your body over a long period of time. I think yesterday I made this, and most of them are also bioincompatible. And so when they get to your system, they form some chemical reactions, or biochemical reactions into your system, which can lead to almost every form of disease, which includes chronic diseases. Maybe cancer can be one of them. Cancer is, hello?
We can hear you, Prof.
Yeah, cancer is one of them. Diarrhea diseases, like I said yesterday, some of them contain some of the waters that are kept in these bottles can react with whatever the additives used in the preparation of the plastic, causing cancers, causing chronic diseases like diarrhea, vomiting, coughing that cannot be explained, and so on and so forth. So it has a lot of, aside the fact that it can also be a pollutant in the air. I told you that when they leach into the waters and the environment, no, the environment is, we can inhale them and cause a whole lot of, there are people who for some reason get unknown, maybe unexplained asthmatic attack. And these things, some of them are born from some of these things. So medically, there are a lot of implications that needs to be addressed when it comes to, plastic waste and the plastic finding their way into the environment. That one, I must be honest and tell you, the implications are so much so that the government will have to spend so much money or so much resources into the health care system, and that one will not even yield any result because the situation will keep on compounding and compounding. Every now and then, if the plastic menace is not resolved,
okay.
And then,
but Prof, you know that over the years we've tried to deal with this whole plastic menace. At a point in time, there was a minister who even banned, the use of plastics here. It didn't work. So, how must we approach it this time around to ensure that all the solutions or interventions that we will come up with will be effective at eliminating the sort of danger we do encounter when it comes to plastics?
You see, people always feel comfortable when they are used to certain pattern of life. And so to approach this situation where you want to probably eliminate or reduce the menace, we have to entice them with money. You entice these people with money, not as if you are dashing them the money for free. You tell them that whoever brings this amount of rubber or plastic, this is how much we are going to pay you. So you are not banning them, completely. You allow people initially to make money out of it. And as they are making money out of it, what it is that they are gradually, and in fact, to make money, what it is that if you go to the shop and you buy anything that is in plastic, that thing is going to be more expensive than buying something that is in a different container. Do you understand?
Okay, yes.
Yeah. If you buy anything in the shops that is in plastic, you are going to buy more, you are going to pay more. For instance, in Germany, yesterday I said that in Germany, if you buy water, the water is basically for free, but the plastic is what they are selling to you. Anything that is in plastic in Germany, that's where I know best. They will sell that thing to you for free, virtually for free, but the plastic is what you are buying. So the next time you go out there to buy something that is in plastic, you know that this is how much I'm going. But of course, when you return it, you're going to get some refund of your money. Do you understand? And so it's very important that we don't go all out by saying that we want to ban it. If you want to ban it, people will not actually support it, but entice them, tell them that they can come and buy whatever they want to buy, but they, however, can go back and sell the plastic back, and they'll get money. You will see how all these things, by the time people even dig into the sea, or they will actually go into the sea and start bringing out all those plastics without anybody asking them to do that, because they will know that when they bring them, they are going to get money.
Desmond, you are in this whole business of plastic waste recycling. How do you foresee what Prof is saying? That, example, in Germany, you're buying, the water is virtually free, but you are paying for the plastic. So let's make plastic content quite expensive for people to purchase, and also create that avenue where people can come back and sell off their plastic waste. What do you make of it, and how it can help us in this fight?
It helped a lot, and the thing is that, like I was saying, in Germany, it's the states that control these things. So here we can do the same thing. Instead of government always having to do this from ministerial level or the presidential or executive level, let's give that responsibility to the district. So the districts will now be able to they can have waste banks in each of the districts. Now this waste bank is where all the waste will be stationed. At the end of the day, they will be able to determine which ones or how much of it is residual. Residual is the ones that you cannot recycle whatsoever. Those companies will pay extra, and the money should go to that district. That district will keep this money at the waste bank and keep giving that money back to the community who brings waste. That way, at the end of the day, you have collection, but then you can now look for where do you send this waste to be properly recycled. And we don't have to do everything at a go. Last year, Senegal started the zero waste restaurant model. Now, this is just targeting the hospitality industry, because that's where people also go for fun. People go there for programs and different things. So they start with the hospitality industry. You have to transition from single-use plastics. That's the first thing, not from all plastics, but from single-use plastics. So you don't have to use the styrofoam packs, and you don't have to use the single-use cutlery, but you now transition to using steel, to using packaging, encouraging people to sit and dine and not take it out and right beside the restaurant, eat and throw it away. When you go from step by step and then you diffuse the power into the regional or district level, it becomes much more easier, just like Germany is doing. Denmark is doing quite a bit the opposite. Government is controlling everything from the central office. But then they have a very efficient system segregating at home. On top of that, they have a very efficient waste-to-energy plant, which is next to the Opera House. And because of this, everything is still running smoothly, even though this is the administrative level that's controlling this is at the top. So I think we just have to sort of tackle the problems step by step and not keep it at the very top.
So it means for you, policy coordination is also a problem here.
It is significantly a problem because I would want to believe that what we are doing currently, even with the National Plastic Partnership Secretariat and also with MESI, I would want to believe that to some significant extent, there are a lot of actors who are probably not involved but should have been involved significantly. Because, like I keep coming back to the local actors, the important thing is where will the implementation take effect? If those people are not the frontiers, it doesn't matter how good the policy would be. So it has to be strongly coordinated.
Okay, interesting. But with your, knowledge of how the industry or the sector has been regulated, we are saying that there's a problem with coordination. Do you foresee a change, a positive change in that direction to ensure that we're able to win the fight against the plastic menace?
Yes, significantly. Because, for example, I think the Gender Inclusion Group last year produced 3 knowledge documents. Now, those knowledge documents will go into capacity building, will go into advocacy, go into convening people in meetings, and that will inform people. One thing about Ghanaians is that, yes, we can take things for granted, but if you also inform people effectively, they shy away from certain things, right? So that is one. And then the other thing is also, of course, the challenge remains that if government does not make a step and bring these producers and importers and wholesalers to take responsibility and then promote or actually launch the extended producer responsibility scheme, that will still remain our challenge, because we don't want to have people who are somewhere complaining that we are doing our best, but they are not doing anything, and government also on the other end. So I think it will have to be, that will be the catalyst for all the efforts that are already in play. And then the other thing is also the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurs who are currently implementing projects. We currently have really good, about maybe 8 good projects in Ghana that you can say they are using the zero waste approach, where you talked about the circular economy. They are tracking the entire material in transition along the value chain, making sure that your waste becomes somebody's raw material. And then at the end of the day, very minimal waste is produced. Look at the project that I mentioned that is producing 2,000 kilograms of compost, for example. Even though it's an organic project, taking away the organics makes sure that recyclers get clean plastics, which has been one of our problems. Get the plastics and then you are not able to use it for anything. And then companies have to be enforced to stop producing residual plastics, because companies are now, why should you package in sachet in almost everything, knowing that these sachets are full of colors that cannot be compatible for manufacturing or recycling into any kind of product. And I think that's the part that if we diffuse this whole thing, certain districts can be firm enough to say, you are not qualified to sell this in sachet in my district, but you can sell it in a bottle, because they probably have a bottle recycling company who is forming partnership with this particular district.
But if we are finding it difficult to even deal with plastic, the plastics in general, you're saying that we should even say that sachet should be, left out and rather make everything or get everything into plastic bottles. Is that what you're saying? Wouldn't that be
not exactly? Not exactly, because there are different kinds of plastics and there are different kinds of grades. And the grade of the plastic determines its recyclability and the efficiency of its recyclability. Now, if you start packaging, say, we've seen the alcoholic beverages now packaging so much in sachet. Why? Those sachets that they use to package the alcoholic beverages, they are completely useless. And I'm saying useless not only here in Ghana or in Morocco, where it is quite also efficient, or in Kenya. It is useless in West, it's useless in Europe, right? So why should we allow companies to be doing that? when we don't have local manufacturers who are capable of recycling such product. That's one. So you take it a step by step approach. And then you get to the point where you can also now zoom into the water, because, I mean, for the water, if we start with that, it might cause a lot of problems. But then along the line, we will be able to bring in better alternatives, because once you start cracking down here, other companies will begin to think sustainably and then have a plan to transition.
Prof, isn't it time we go back to the glass bottle so that we can save ourselves all of this issue of having to deal with the plastic because we are not ready as a country?
That would have been an ideal thing to do, but that one also, leads to another problem. So what I would say is that the best way, assuming that we still want to continue with the usage of our plastic, what it is that they have to do to reduce the menace is probably to, I'm talking about the menace as to how we dispose them all. What you have to do is probably encourage people to bring their used plastic back to the various shops or various designated areas and give it to them. And while they give such things, they get money. At least they get something like a token. I don't know whether you've realized that these days, I think there's a company or a factory somewhere, that was what I've been made to understand, that they buy some of these plastics and turn them into handbags. And people, if you see people now running after these sachet, plastic, it will marvel you. But I don't know to what scale. Is it that big? It becomes something that is so basic that people now go in, get them picked from various functions like the BT, maybe parties and all those things. You can drink and throw it away, no problem, but when you throw it away, you know that you are losing money. So you make sure that probably you drink the water and then find a way of putting that thing in your bag. So that when you go home, probably you place it somewhere and then later on find, means of sending it back and get money. So, to go back to the glass, that would have been the ideal thing to do, but it's going to be difficult. Let us not condemn it completely that we can't do it. We can do it. But then how do we do it? One of the solutions is what I've given. I believe that, like you said, and I keep saying, one is not a positive of knowledge or whatever. So what it says is that we all put our hands together and make sure that we help the government or the various governments that will be interested in getting rid of these things. Make sure that we get it done everywhere.
Earlier, you spoke about the plastics that are problematic and the ones that are not. How do I, as an individual, know that I am buying a plastic that is not problematic to the environment and myself, so that we can be making the right decisions?
It's going to be difficult. I just made mention of the fact that some plastics, we call them pure plastic. And those pure plastics are things that are insoluble, you understand, and they don't cause much problems, into the environment. But the additive that is added, the things that are added to the plastic to make sure that they become molded or they become semi-solid or solid, those additives are the ones that can cause problems. And I made mention of phthalates. These phthalates are additives that are very poisonous when they find their way into the water, find their way into the environment, find their way into the body, the soil and so on and so forth. So that is where it is. So it's for you, ordinary Ghanaian, probably for me, it's going to be difficult to differentiate between the pure plastic from that of the what do you call it, synthetic. I know some plastic can be synthetic, others can also are not synthetic. You understand? So those are the things that become very difficult for us to see. So basically, let us embrace them, but with time, what it is that when you are losing money as a result of buying things from plastic, you are losing money as a result of buying water by the roadside and drinking and throwing it away, everybody will be conscious. Let me just take but seriously, I will just chip in this. My son, my wife is a foreigner. So there was a case where we were traveling to Cape Coast. And then on our way, before us were these cars. So everybody was drinking water and throwing them away. My son said, Papa, what is this? You understand? And he told me to stop so that I would pick them. He feels that we are somewhere in Europe so that we'll pick them and go and sell. Do you understand? So that is the conscious effort of them seeing that, this is not good. one, if I throw it away, the person may not be knowing the fact that I throw plastic onto the floor, or maybe it finally lands into the water and then pollute the water and all those things. So why can't I keep it somewhere in a special bag so that when I go home, if I get about 30 of them, I can go and sell and get some money? I think that's going to be the best way. As to the differentiating between the plastics, whether pure or impure, is going to be difficult.
Right. My final question to you, wrapping up this conversation, Desmond. Prof has hinted on an interesting point about helping young people, having a consciousness about how to treat plastic and how to recycle it and all that. How do we do that here? How do we get the young people to appreciate and understand, right from primary school up until they become adults, how to properly treat waste, plastic waste?
Is the question directed to me?
That's for Desmond, Prof.
Okay, that's fine.
Because at the moment we have, I don't remember the number, but we have eco clubs in almost all the traditional, now beyond all the traditional universities in Ghana, and they are having programs all year round, and all the programs are around innovating around plastics and also educating others, including the primary schools, about how to handle plastics. It's classified under the disaster risk reduction wing of the Green Africa Youth Organization. The idea is that we want to train people to understand how to escape danger when in terms of flooding, choked gutters, and piercings from those waste. But also the primary thing is to let people understand the basic principle, the fact that plastic is coming from fossil fuel as a byproduct, and then it contributes to the whole problem of climate emergency and how young people are affected in general.
Okay, Desmond, grateful to you. Desmond Alunwa is a plastic waste recycling advocate, and Professor Paul Osei Sampene is the environmental health hazard analyst at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.